Hello everybody! In today's video, I'm going to bring you along with me to see how much I can read in a week. Right now, I'm in the southwest coast of France, living right next to the beach, so it is the perfect setting to tackle my summer TBR and get a little bit of reading done under the sun. Speaking of which, these are the books that I brought with me and is on my TBR. So I have Case Study by Graham McCrae Burnett, Evenings and Weekends by Ocean McKenna, Ministry of Time by Kallianne Bradley, Wedding People by Alison Esbach, which is downloaded onto my Kindle. So yesterday I read around 50 pages of Case Study and actually finished the book. So this book was a mid-tier read for me. It was okay, but I didn't love it. Not everyone agrees because this was longlisted for the Booker Prize in 2022. So this book, the synopsis was quite intriguing. It says that it's set in London in 1965, where this main character believes that this famous psychotherapist led her sister to unalive herself. And so the main character decides to create this false identity and go undercover and become one of his patients to figure out what went on. And indeed, the story does start here, but that's not really what the story is about. You follow the main character, who you soon discover is quite an unreliable narrator and also quite mentally unstable. And you also follow the life of the famous psychotherapist. I must say, these two characters are very unlikable, especially the psychotherapist. He is like a despicable character, in my opinion. I think one of the main topics that they talk about in this book is the mental condition of having multiple identities and ways of being within one person. And basically, the psychotherapist thinks, wouldn't it be easier for you to just accept that you have multiple identities within yourself rather than squashing everything, just keeping one? And there was some interesting conversations about this in the book, but it wasn't thought-provoking enough to carry the entire book, in my opinion. And for me, when I read a book, I really appreciate like all the emotions that reading can evoke in me, and that part just fell flat in this book. So I would give this like a 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't necessarily super bad, but it wasn't memorable. Also, it wasn't at all what I thought I would be reading, like reading the synopsis. So that was Case Study. But we do have more books to read, so I think I will pick up the next book and see you later. So, hello. Yesterday I started The Ministry of Time, and so far I am loving this book. The writing style is really bubbly. It's really easy to follow. The main characters are also great, and also their dialogue is so fun. I'm really excited to see where it goes and how it evolves, because I've never read a sci-fi romance book before, ever, I think. So I'm very excited to see how it unfolds and how the story moves on, because not only am I invested in like the romance, which hasn't really began, I'm at like a 50-page point right now, but I'm also really interested to see how the actual plot develops. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. I'll see you guys then. Hello. So today is Wednesday, and yesterday I did make a bit more progress with the Ministry of Time. I am now at like an 100-page mark, which is, I think, like 1/3 of the book. And I'm still really enjoying this book. There are now some scatters of mystery that I'm really curious to find out the truth of. So that's keeping me going. And I realized that yesterday I completely forgot to tell you guys what the book is actually about. So basically, in the book, the British government has discovered a way to do time travel. And so they are now conducting this experiment where they bring people back from the past into the present time. And the main character basically takes on this position as a bridge, where her job is to live with one of the people from the past and try to make sure that he is getting integrated into the world of today, while also keeping an eye on his health and reporting back to the government. So today I still plan to get some things done, but I also want to take some time to make some progress on the book. I will keep you guys updated on what I get up to today as well. It is now Friday, and I'm sorry because yesterday I didn't have the time to take any footage, but in any case, I didn't make too much progress yesterday. I had a lot going on, but today I was able to go down to the beach and read a little, and I am now past like the halfway mark, and things are getting really interesting. Like there was this scene where literally I had my mouth open and I had to shut it quickly because there's so much wind today and I was gonna get a shit ton of sand in my mouth. It's getting into like the mystery of what's behind this time machine story and this mystery that we had at the very start of the book. But I will get back into this and hopefully finish it soon before the weekend and before I wrap up this video. Hello, hello. It is now Sunday evening and I have made some progress on the Ministry of Time. I'm actually almost done. I think I'm like 40 pages from the ending. Today was a gorgeous day again. So we went down to the beach to read a little. It was actually a tad bit too hot, so we couldn't stay there too long because we were just baking under the sun. But I did make some progress with the Ministry of Time. It's very not what I expected. When I first read like the summary of this book, I thought it would be very science fiction coded with like sciencey aspects, a lot of time traveling. But actually, I feel like this reads almost more like a literary fiction in my opinion. There's a lot of social commentary. You really explore the main character, her background, also the relationship with the other main character, who's the guy who traveled from the 1800s, but also the other people who came from the past, because there was several of them who traveled from the past. Her relationship with those people as well. There's a lot of this relational aspect that's covered in the story, and I thought it's really interesting to put that in the bigger story of this time travel story, because to be honest, there's not too much time traveling that's been happening here, and there's not so much reveal of what's going on and what's the main objective. But for now, rather than that plot, it's more following like the human side of things. And so I find that really interesting to do in a science fiction. Honestly, I've never read like a sci-fi that's like coded like literary fiction. But I think, so it's Sunday, so it's been a week, but I think just to make things, you know, nice and neat, I will come back on here again once I finish reading the book to give you guys my last thoughts on this. And I will update you again. So see you until then. I finished the Ministry of Time. It is now later in the week. So I wanted to quickly pop on here to give you guys my final thoughts on the book. It was really fun to read, but taking into account the ending and everything that happens towards the end, I think this was not a fan favorite read for me. I'd give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So let me give you the good parts about this book. I really enjoyed the banter. It was so fun to follow the conversations between the two main characters. I also really enjoyed the relationship aspect of this book. I really enjoyed the part where you follow the relationship of the bridge and the guy who came from the past and the other expats who came from the past. That part was really well explored. I also really appreciated the topics that they brought into this book, like climate change. Also, I must say, the plot twist, like, I did not see that coming. So I love a good plot twist. I think recently I'm a thriller girly, and since I've read so many thriller books and I know so many like twists, a lot of the thriller books that I read these days, I can see the plot twists coming, you know? I can guess them. So a lot of the times I'm disappointed by the plot twist. But for this one, like, I love when there's plot twists in a non-thriller book because I feel like that really catches you off guard. And I think this one definitely, that was done really well, and I really enjoyed that surprising aspect of the story. But here are the things that I didn't really love about the book. So I feel like the time travel aspect of the story wasn't developed enough. Like, I didn't really get a grasp of it until like the very end. And I feel like they just squeezed the whole time travel plot into the last 50-40 pages, that it felt very rushed. And also, there were some questions that I felt were not answered even at the end of the book. And I was just left wondering, like, oh, but what about this? You know, what was that about? And I feel like there was just too much packed at the end. And I think that also goes for the global story. Like, they pick up really important and interesting subjects, but they just pack too much in there that you don't get enough time for those things, those impactful topics and conversations to sink into you and be memorable. So that was a bit of a shame, I think. But anyways, I think this was a interesting, fun read, but I felt like there was too much packed, and the science fiction part could have been a bit more developed or could have been spread out a little bit more in the book. Nevertheless, it was a good read. I'm glad I picked it up. It was something super unique and refreshing to read. So I would say give it a go, especially if you are open to different types of science fiction. That is my overall thoughts on this book. And thank you guys so much for staying until the end, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!